Hello and welcome back to Van Life Designer. Today what I am working on and hopefully starting to build is the frame for the dinette eating sleeping area, right? It's not a dual use, it's a tri-use area. And there's a few reasons for that, because I'm getting ready to want to put down the actual flooring and starting to build the cabinets. So I need to just start to think about these things. So a few things that I've got in terms of design and thinking. So before I build anything, I'm either sketching it. For some reason I'm going old school at the moment. I'm sketching by hand. I used to be an AutoCAD designer, but this is on site. This is where I can sit in the van and sketch things. So I'm going old school. I sketch everything out, so by the time I'm building it, I know the dimensions, I know exactly where the cross braces go, I know exactly where I'm attaching it to the van, I know what I have to work around. So today, the main thing that I have to work around is my over-the-wheel arch water tank. And so that's sitting in place, which I'll show you a bit later. Otherwise, I've got a sketch pad, a pen, gloves, tape measure, of course, for the planning stage. And this is where I'm going to teach you about what are called the 5 P's of success. Okay, the 5 P's of success in anything. And the 5 P's represent prior, preparation, and actually it's the 7 P's. I worked this out. Preparation, planning, prevents, piss, poor. Okay, it's the... So today I'm going to teach you about the 7 P's of success in anything, especially project management. So we're going to get a bit of a project management and design lesson today. So the 7 P's of success mean prior, preparation and prevent piss poor performance. It's another way of saying measure twice, cut once. But lots and lots of planning. It can seem arduous. It can seem like, oh, I just want to start building stuff. That's me for sure. Totally want to just start building stuff. But I notice that when I slow that down and I really prepare well, I sketch well, and then I set up my build site well, it all goes much, much more smoothly. So that's what we're doing today. We're doing some framing. So what I'm starting to sketch here is the dinette in 3 dimensions. Now, what I have here is the van floor, finished floor, finished floor. So I'm going to do it like this. I'm building out of 2x2s. I'm going to make the verticals 2x2 and then the cross 2x2. This is actually a box. Oops. Step. Okay, so there's a few extra lines here and it's certainly not totally to proportion, but that's the start. So I'm getting a bit of a visual on what this is going to look like. Okay, so 2 boxes running. This is the middle of the van. This is the back of the van. The wheel hubs are inside of both of these. I have a step up here and then I'll have another box at the back here. So this is where I'm at the moment. At the moment I'm focusing today on these 2 boxes because it's going to form the foundation of every other piece. These are the kind of things you usually know as a designer, but because I learnt design in metric, in millimeters, sometimes I need to ask Google for things. So I'm going to ask Google about normal chair height. Okay, Google, what is a normal chair height?
About 18. According to furniture.com, standard height chairs, a standard table is 30 inches tall. Your standard chair seat is about 8.
Okay, so Miss Google just told us that it's a standard chair height is 18 inches, okay, which I had also actually just gone and measured myself, just on my own legs, okay, and as I'm building this around my proportions, that makes a lot of sense. Now, one thing about that to know when you're building a dinette is that 18 inches is from the floor of wherever your feet go to the top of the cushion, okay? Remember this. So you're building a frame and then you're putting cushioning on top. So at this point, you need to be deciding how thick your cushioning is going to be. Mine's going to be 3 or 4 inches. And so what that means is I have proportions like this, okay? So if it's 18 inches to the top of the foam, I would have a normal frame 15 inches and then 3 inches of foam. But I also have either a 5 or a 6 inch step, which is what I'm in the process of making the decision about right now. And then that will determine the height of the frame struts. Okay, I'll get back to you when I make that decision. Okay, so here's my sketch elevation of the side dinette, okay? This is where you got to do your calculations before you start cutting anything, okay? So this is before measuring. This is design, calculate, then measure twice, cut once, okay? So what I have here is the cushion, 3 inches, right? I'm allowing ½ an inch for the lid that's gonna go on the dinette, okay? And then I've got 15 inches of storage and 6 inches of the subfloor drawers. Now what does this mean for my frame? So with my first calculations, the frame comes out at 21 inches. But what I want to show you is my water tank, because this is critical to these dimensions. This is my over-the-wheel arch water tank, a really important part of my installation, right? And it, in and of itself, is just under 20 inches high. So things I've got to think about are things like servicing the tank, if I ever wanted to take the tank out. So just let me sit with that. I need to think about these things, about how I'm framing around this. So all that work has done is shown me what the height of the frame is going to be. Okay, I haven't done the width measurements yet. This is part of the reason why I'm putting these drawers under here, is for extra storage into the van and out the back of the van. I'll show you that later. And what it's also afforded is that means this is higher than if it was just a dinette sitting on the floor of the van, okay? And I get more storage. It allows me more storage, and as it happens, I've got a very tall water tank, so I need to fit it in there, okay? So that's where we're at so far. So as you can see, I've done lots of sketches, right? And this is important. So where is it? Oh my goodness, I've got to have it somewhere. So here we have one of my first sketches of the dinette area, okay? Showing water tank, step up, other section, and then the back section. I am going to actually build it differently to that, but that's why we keep sketching. And then here, this is an important piece too, because this is some of the elevations, which means the face-on view at the back of the van, okay? Now what that's showing you, don't worry about that one, it's not going to be this one. It's going to be this one, okay? Some of the things are the same, but what we'll have is a big drawer. We'll have a pull-out that will be storage and a place to sit on 500-pound slides. We're going to have a gas locker, and then another opening and drawer with a lot of depth. And then we're going to have, this is where the water inlet and all those sort of things, and an extra drawer here, okay? So that's what I'm working with too, is understanding what's happening at the back of the van. So what I'm about to do now is I'm going to start measuring out the back of the van. Okay, I've done some cursory measurements before, but I'm going to do it again now to work out the floor plan, which I'll then sketch. so here I am. So this is the Dinette floor plan now. So these are the two frames I'm building, that one and that one today, okay? So we know we've got 60 inches of length, 23 inches of width for both of them. So they're both going to be exactly the same, but mirrored. And over this one here, I have a very big water tank. Okay, so the water tank sits inside this one. Okay, so that's where we're at. Small correction on the floor plan. At the back of the van, there's these pillars up here that are actually angled. So I just have to do some measurements to work out exactly those measurements, which I'm about to do. So I measured that little angle at the back of the van, okay, and it's 4.5 by 4.5 inches. So that just means I'm gonna make a little bend in the frame here such that when I actually cut out the plywood top, that, you know, it'll sit on these, yeah? And it means that the 60 inches here, we just take 4.5 off, okay, which makes it 55.5. And on the 23 inch length, we take off 4.5, which makes it, I think, 18.5. Yes. So this is taking a long time, I know, but it's essential before you start cutting. You know, one thing to understand about design is in the details. And so when you really think about how you're cutting something and what's going to go behind it, and are you going to trim up against that, it makes it like so much better when you consider those things. And it looks so beautiful when it's done, right? So design is about functionality and usability as much as it is what you see at the end. So a lot of what I've been talking about today is functionality and usability, but I'm always thinking about the finishes and the edges and what's going to butt up against this and how's that going to look when this next thing happens, okay? So one thing I omitted here, I'm just going to draw that in. So because I know that last piece at the back is going to be 26 inches, what it's going to afford me actually is a nice deep day bed, so I don't have to make my bed in the middle of the afternoon if I want a little lie down, an LLD, as you say in Australia. And so what that means is it's going to position a little mid-strut for me. So this is the final layout, which includes any vertical supports and that little corner that needs to be framed out. That's taken about an hour and a half and time worth spent. So I'm going to take a little break and then I'm going to start measuring and cutting and pocket hole joining.